reached trade deadline time. There's a lot of teams making some big moves, making some big jumps. Still some pretenders, though, some title favorites out there. We're going to throw every team into a category of what the rest of their season may look like.
All right. So where do we want to start? We want to start from worst to the best or best to the worst?
I feel like we can also just start. We can just go down the line as well.
That works just as well. Sixers, pretenders.
Yeah, I'd probably throw them there. I mean, it went into the season with big hopes, with a big move, but it feels like nothing's really worked out this year. Nobody's healthy this season.
I'd even be fine with
probably the Sixer category. What was that?
I said I'd even be fine with bad middle ground for the Sixers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like they still have the pieces. Like the bad middle ground teams I'm looking at are like the Kings and the Bulls and stuff like that.
Bulls got 2 more wins than Sixers. Yeah, I guess the Sixers.
But it's kind of like their ceiling is just a lot lower.
Yeah, true. All right, I'm cool with pretenders. The Wizards.
Tank for Coop. Yeah, very. Hawks, I feel like, aren't in tank for Coop, but it kind of feels like that. So
it's kind of in bad middle ground. They're kind of halfway in between. They tried to get Brandon Ingram, didn't work out. Just traded DeAndre Hunter. Jalen Johnson's out for the season, so it's just kind of a tough season for the Hawks. But at this point, it feels like they are in a place to be able to tank as long as Trae Young isn't averaging like 30 and 17 the rest of the year. So
yeah,
somewhere in between these two. Ideally, they're tanking, but it feels like they'll probably still win a few games.
All right, next up, I think Cavs are a clear contender.
I would put them in. I mean, it depends on how many teams we want to have up here. If we want to have 3,
I'd put them in contenders for now and then adjust once we get later.
I think they're the 3rd favorite in my eyes.
Yeah, because they're good. They're really good. But we've also seen them get dog walked by both OKC and Boston. And it's just like there's clearly a tier there. And I think we're going to get to it later. But I think you can pretty much put the Lakers right there. Just off of roster construction right now.
For sure. There's some levels to it as well. I think there'll be a few teams in this tier, but the Cavs would definitely be my 3rd favorite. So I think we'll probably have a clear 2 up here. And especially with the DeAndre Hunter trade, you get a little bit of extra wing scoring, some wing defense. You have a real starter at the 3 now going forward. I feel like that's a pretty important move.
100%. All right, Pistons. Love Cade Cunningham, but I think you're tanking for Coop as well, right?
I'm gonna add a new tier here of just like productive season because it feels like they have been so relevant for so long that like just getting some wins on the board is a good thing for them. But I don't think. I mean, they're not even pretenders, but I think they're a little bit above a bad middle ground. Like they're in a good spot. Comparatively to what we've seen in the past, like you finally have Cade healthy, you're around 500 or at least competing for playoffs, which I think is big for a team like that. So
you're right, that is
I
massive.
would throw them in there.
All right, let's see. Pacers, where would you put them? I don't really know what to categorize them.
It's a tough one. I mean, right now they're the 5 seed in the East. We saw them make a little run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That series was also closer than it looked too. There's a few bounces that if they go their way, they could be leading in that series against the Celtics. I don't think they're real contenders. I also don't know that they're pretenders. Like they've had a productive season. I think they might go in this tier.
Yeah, I think
they can win a playoff series. They're young enough. They don't have any bad assets. Like they're just they are what they are for now.
You think they're in a better spot than they were in last season at this point?
Yeah, I mean, they're fully healthy. You have another year of Siakam getting used to the system and stuff. The East is better than it was last year, I think, and they're the 5 seed now. I think last year they finished as the 6, so a little bit of improvement there. I would be a little worried about Halliburton. He's definitely had a little bit of regression this season compared to last year, so that's something to keep an eye on and something worth thinking about for the Pacers. But
still, I am very curious how that kind of progresses for him. I wonder how much is injury related or sleeping in another state or whatever.
It's very bizarre.
Let's get these pretender ass Bucks in there.
Yeah, I'll say the Bucks are pretenders. I can't.
100%.
I love Giannis. I love Dame, but there's just no defense on that team.
Kuz? that moving the ball at all?
Kuz is not a defensive piece. That's
No.
for sure.
I think he could be like I think people are underrating his potential value for the team, but I don't really think he's still the missing piece that they needed.
I think they could be better with him than they were with Middleton, but I still don't know if that brings them up enough.
I think they lost that. Just like Kuz, I think he deserves a little bit less hate than he gets, but it's like dude is shooting 60% from free throw this season. He's
been
28% from three.
Yeah.
It's like the splits are out of this world bad.
Yeah, so we'll see how he does going to a potentially better team, but
yeah,
it's gonna be one telling. I actually feel like the Raptors fit perfectly in that like productive season area. Like,
yeah, I would have put them here, and then the Ingram trade kind of makes me think they're going to be this. Like they're probably going to win some games this year and be in a weird spot. Like they're not contending for the playoffs. They're probably not going to have a good pick, but you also do get an asset for the future, and maybe you still end up sucking and tanking. So I think it's probably here. If you think Ingram fits with the guys you have long term, and it doesn't ruin your draft stock too much. Like right now, I think they'd have the 5th pick odds wise. So as long as they stay in that realm where they could get a top 5 pick, I think it's been a super productive season for sure.
We have some new trade news coming in here.
What you got?
Clippers are trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks.
Interesting. So kind of getting off the Bogdan salary there.
Yeah, I think Mann and Bones are kind of fun pieces.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I just really like the pieces that Toronto has a whole for next year. Like this should be a stronger team next year in theory.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. The Mavericks.
I have them here. I think they'll be lower here.
Yeah,
but I think this team is gonna be a lot better than people are giving them credit. I think the Luka loss is obviously gigantic, but your defense gets a lot better. This might be controversial, but I think this team this season, I mean, we'll see if any other moves happen for them. But I think for this season alone, they might be more prepped to win than if they had Luka. So,
yeah, I agree. I think this team is actually good for the short term. It's just the long term is why the deal sucks.
Yeah, like I think even if you win the championship this year, it could still be a bad deal.
And that's what sucks.
Which is insane.
You could generally have made like the correct move for a championship this year, but still be seen as an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nuggets. I mean, what do we honestly put them at? Contender or title? Because it's like I just have a hard time with what Jokic is doing, not at least having him in the title favorite conversation.
Yeah, I mean, all of these teams. Like I think if we're gonna have the Cavs down here, the Nuggets probably have to be down here as well. And we reserve this tier for just the 2 teams that we think are true favorites. I think Denver and Cleveland both have a pretty solid chance of winning it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. All right, Grizzlies pretenders.
Yeah,
just because it's kind of get it together this year. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, I think we would be having a conversation about them being contenders.
It's just too much too soon, kind of.
Too many injuries. I do think it's been like pretenders kind of has too negative of a connotation. Like I think it's been productive. Like they've gotten good work out of their young pieces and stuff. Like it'll be good.
I think a productive season's fine. One to put it.
It's been
my stock in the Grizzlies is higher than it was. Maybe
I'm excited for them next year.
Yeah. I think once you get some continuity there, things could be better.
Kind of same vibe with the Rockets. I feel like, unfortunately,
Rockets. I'm very impressed by the Rockets. Timberwolves are going to go in this year.
Yeah. They could have been contenders. They could have.
I hate everything they did this offseason. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, it's awful. Outside of them, though,
Spurs bad middle ground.
I think it's a productive season.
It's a productive season in one sense, but I'm also like confused. Like, what is the kind of plan here?
Yeah, I mean, I think tanking this year was probably the move, but Wemby's just too good to tank, it appears. Yeah. And it seems like you hit on Stephon Castle. You went and got a point guard you can pair with Wemby for the next 10 years or something. I think that's a very
which means they have to be getting rid of Chris Paul somehow, right?
Yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year. I think they'll just ride it out. Keep the leadership with Chris Paul there till the end of the year, and then if they decide to bring him back on super cheap, I mean, he's making no money, so it's kind of a a situation where they're
It's
comfortable.
an educational role.
Just bringing him along for the rest of the year. The connection with him and Wemby and kind of the intangibles he's brought to the team have been super valuable. So I think throwing him there.
I like that. All right,
Jazz,
no.
terrible.
Tank for Kuz.
What they're
It's
tank
so
for Kuz,
bad.
Yeah.
but they're also
so
like
bad.
they're
Yeah.
kind of
Dude, they have
might be
12 wins.
the worst off team in the league. Like yes, they're in a good spot to tank, but they're also kind of like there's no assets on that team that you're really comfortable with going forward. Like you were excited
like
about
the
Laurie, and then
Wizards.
he's had a bad season.
Wizards might be worse.
Yeah, the Wizards have no asset. It just they're both should be tanking for sure.
Yeah.
That's where they belong.
Tank
Can we create a category called like sneaky contenders? Like kind of our dart throw right above pretenders? Because like I think Grizzlies really fits in that kind of category.
Yeah.
Because I could see them honestly doing something in the later part of the year. That
Just
people are like, oh
throw
shit.
Sneaky in here.
Because I'm looking at some of these other teams and I'm like, honestly, like I don't think like I'm very curious about what they could do in the later part of the season.
Yeah. I'm down for that.
Cool.
Are there any other teams we want to move up there? Probably not.
No, I think this is perfect.
Yeah.
Clips.
Clips. I mean,
That's one I would put in sneaky. Because like
Really?
think about like when they get to the later part of the season. Like,
yeah,
they got Kawhi. They've got James Harden, who's honestly playing well, and Zubac is really coming to his own.
Norman Powell.
Norman
Averaging
Powell,
24 game.
like that's a
yeah.
good team.
I mean, they're going to be a tough out, but I don't see them winning 3 series. But I
Yeah,
mean, I guess if everything comes together, like they could get hot and win a couple series, and then you never know, you're an injury away or something. So I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I have such a hard time. Maybe I'm just stuck in the past. It's just James Harden and Kawhi. I'm like, damn. Suns are dumpster fire to me. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
middle
think it's bad middle ground. I don't even think they're pretenders.
Portland sneaky.
Portland's a productive
They're not
season.
sneaky. They're
Yeah, I
productive
know.
season.
Definitely productive.
But they also
Hottest team
should
in the
be
league.
doing this.
They should be tanking. But
So maybe not as productive. Maybe they don't belong.
all
anywhere.
depends on how you want to
No, but
define
I
a
think
productive team.
the opinion I have is when you've been bad or you're picking in the top 5 for like a few years in a row, just getting wins on the board and like developing that culture is more important than going full tank. Like you see these teams down here, and we'll see like the Hornets and stuff down there eventually, but there's just nothing hopeful there. And like even if you get a good player, the organization is not in a spot where it's going to be turned around by one guy. Whereas if you have Portland or something, you're a few moves away, you hit on a draft pick, even if you're picking at like 7 or 8 or something, it's important for the young dudes to see what a like good team looks like. And you guys have won 9 out of 10. So it's important to know what winning feels like, I think.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like there's a bunch of like good A-tier young guys on the Blazers, and I feel like there's definitely, like you said, something to be said for like them getting wins under their belt versus like getting a shit ton of losses. So we just add on to that young core.
Yeah, for sure.
Kings,
they're in bad middle ground.
Yeah, bad middle
I hate this team so much.
Ever since they got rid of Mike Brown, I've been pissed.
Knicks, I mean, contenders.
Yeah, I
Are
think they're
they
contenders.
sneaky? All right, yeah.
I don't think it's sneaky.
Yeah.
I think the roster's very good.
2 wins below the C's, yeah.
My concern is always coming down to like the minutes deal.
For sure.
Could be overused, but
at least you have a
more
couple
of a
more
rush
guys you can spread the minutes to. Like they're all playing heavy minutes, but you have like different guys you can trust. I mean, you have McCall now, you have Cat. Interesting to see what happens with Mitchell Robinson. It doesn't seem like he's going to get moved at this point. So that's another body to rotate with in the playoffs. Like I think that they're built to go like 8 deep in the playoffs, which is really all you need.
Mitchell Robinson said he like didn't care, right, about getting traded.
Yeah, he was like, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
That's not really what you want to hear, but
Pels.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a good job kind of navigating the situation they're in. They went under the luxury tax, trading away 2 more expensive pieces. And obviously you lost DeJounte this year for the season. Like it's just kind of a tough.
Do we not want to put them in
them.
the tank? I feel like they have the losses to be considered tankers.
Yeah, but I just think tanking is giving them a little bit too much credit. I think they like these teams at least are just bad. This team spent like hundreds of millions of dollars and suck. Like it's just a. I mean, I guess we can put them in. That's what they should be doing, but it's just like I think this team could have been good if everyone was healthy. I mean, you have a good roster of 4 dudes starting with Herb Jones and Trey Murphy off the bench. Like in theory, this could have been a real sneaky team or even up in here, but it just didn't work out with the injuries, and they had to blow it up before that core of dudes even played a single game altogether. So kind of a disaster of a season.
Mm-hmm.
Hornets, just the worst organization of all time.
Dude, they have Nurkic now. Sneaky.
They did a good job accumulating some picks with some of their assets. So I think they are at least doing the right thing, but it's just I
just wish they drafted Connect in the actual draft, so I won money. But no, you have to.
Oh, is that what you did?
Instead. Yeah, that was the insider information I got. Was his agent or whatever? Yeah, said he was supposed to go there, and then something with age or whatever, and he fell, and now he's there. Rockets, are they sneaky or are they contenders? Because I think it's hard to really tell because they're very good.
I think they're sneaky. I don't think they're like
it's like the Thunder from last year.
Yeah, I don't think they're on anyone's radar as like really competing for a title this year, but they're also kind of the perfect description of a productive season as well. You've seen what you have in all your young assets. You're getting the pieces together. You're 1 year deeper into the Brooks and Van Vliet contracts, which will free up a ton of money in the future. So I honestly think it's a very A+ season for the Rockets, but I don't think they're quite at that level.
Yeah, I agree. Heat. What do we? Yeah, I have no idea what to categorize them.
Bad middle ground.
Pretenders.
I think they'll make the playoffs, and I think flipping Jimmy for Wiggins and a guy that can at least play good defense and add to the organization versus having a dude that hasn't played in 2 months is a good add. Like, we'll add some good vibes into the locker room and stuff. But I mean, I don't know if they're really pretenders or bad middle ground. I think both could really apply here.
Dude, I could see like the Magic or Pistons coming for them, or I guess dude, they're like even right now, right?
Let's look. For what it's worth, one of the guys I like really value their opinion on basketball. This is his direct thing that he said about the Jimmy Butler trade. He said that Jimmy Butler got traded for literal peanuts, and he basically sees it as a fleece for the Warriors, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like it was a headache who was never going to play for them again, and you get like proven elite perimeter defender who can also give you 16. Like it's something. And a pick. I mean, all things considered, them being the 6th seed without Jimmy for the last like 3 months is pretty impressive. So I think they can only get better. Probably, I still think they're probably pretenders, but it's a decent season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always end up doing something better than expected.
Definition of bad middle ground.
Shout out to Jackson for Matas Buzelis. So I would agree with you there. Buzelis has been looking good.
Just taking way too long to crack out of his egg.
Yeah, but getting rid of all these dudes, like he could have a huge second half and propel you towards that.
So Nets, that's another terrible team.
Yeah, bad middle ground.
I mean, they're clearly in the tank category, but they kind of started off a little hot, but
they're also losing the tank battle.
They're losing the tank battle bad.
I know. It makes no sense. I mean, it would either be here or here. Like, there's not a ton to be hopeful for young asset wise, and Cam Thomas has been out for a minute, and so it's probably you're in this category, but
just no one's healthy.
They haven't been great at the tank.
Contenders.
Thunder title favorites.
I meant title favorites, not contenders.
Yeah. Get them in there.
Why couldn't they do this last year, man?
I know.
I think you just needed an extra year of development time, and I think their offseason was super underrated.
No, their offseason was
Caruso and Hartenstein, and they've done all this without probably their second best player and one of their best defensive players for the last 4 months or so, and he's supposed to be back in a few weeks or a month. So I think as long as you can give Chet the runway before the playoffs and get him back in the swing of things for like 10 games or something before you get into the playoffs, I think this team is probably the title favorite. I don't see a ton of holes. They're great defensively, can score a ton. Yeah, it's a great roster.
KD's going back.
That would be cool.
At this point.
That'd be cool.
Golden State, I actually think they're sneaky.
No. This is a bad basketball team. I mean, I think I'm
going to trust Grant on this one.
That's
think
fine.
Jimmy can breathe some kind of competitive spirit and stuff into the team. Like I think we'll probably be better the rest of the way, but there's just too many talented teams, and I think we're relying too much on old dudes. And I mean, we could see another trade in the next 17 minutes or so, I guess, that could change a few things, like add some extra role players, but the roster in general is just not inspiring a ton of confidence. At least
I think they're trying to get Steph one last ride here, and so they're going to do whatever they can to get this guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is all about NBA ratings, so I think you're going to see maybe like one more weird deal done to the Warriors, and if not, like, I don't know. I just think this is going to work out somehow better than everyone's expected, because I've yet to hear like anyone like this trade at all, and I agree with it 100%. But I've also been a Magic fan for long enough to know the Miami Heat and how they always end up going further, specifically Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. I'm just like,
No, we'll see. I mean, I would rather have done this Jimmy trade than not done any trade at all. Like, I think it's a positive, and him signing the extension is big because you could even trade him in the offseason, or just gives you the flexibility and guarantees that if you want him to be here next year, he will. So
what if you get Vucevic?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still probably in this category. Maybe you move us up ahead of some of these teams, but I'm not super hopeful this year. But I like that him signing the extension kind of gives you the flexibility to make more moves in the future. Like I'm glad we did the trade, but I just
I tried to give Grant hope. It's not working.
We've got DeAndre Hunter to the Cavs and Dennis Schroeder to the Pistons.
Lovely. Celtics go up there. Their coach is growing on me so much. I just find him hilarious at this point.
Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, obviously, not much needs to be said. They
won last year. They didn't do anything.
No real trades, but it's not like they've needed to make any. Roster's great. Pritchard's emergence as a solid scoring option off the bench has been huge. And in the playoffs, when you only need to go to 8 or 9 guys, it feels like they're pretty much untouchable. I would be pretty surprised if they don't get to the finals. And I think they'd be favored against the Thunder even as well. So.
I think that's fair. I feel like they should be favored at least. I think they're contenders. Like, you can't not like hunters title favorites realistically. Like LeBron, Luka, and Mark Williams.
Yeah, I mean Mark Williams is a great get. I think he adds a lot of variety in the scoring department. His touch around the rim is good. He'll obviously catch lobs. He's pretty much a Derek Lively clone offensively with maybe even a little more touch. Great rebounder. Couple concerns would be his health. I mean, he's played like 25 games this season. Last year he played 15 games. Like, just pretty unreliable. He's had some back issues, which for a 23-year-old dude isn't the most inspiring thing. His rim protection also isn't great. I mean, the frame is there and the athleticism is there. Like, he can easily develop into that. It could just be an issue with the Hornets, but his rim protection has not been as good as a dude with a 9'9" standing reach should be. So there's some room to grow there. And if he figures that out and can be kind of the anchor at the base of their defense, I think it'll help a ton. And they could potentially get to a Western Conference Finals. And then once you're there, who knows? But the defense is definitely a little worrying.
I just think that, like, considering you have Luka and LeBron, like, I was envisioning a tier below of Mark Williams is probably what they were hunting for.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Robert Williams.
Exactly. And so it's like that. The fact that they got him, I'm just like, I have a hard time realistically not seeing them as the favorite right now. Just because LeBron is just ridiculous. Luka is going to be on a revenge tour. And this guy is just realistically a fill-in for the one thing that they were missing.
Yeah.
And it's like, the defense it sucks, but like.
Yeah. I think given time in the offseason or something, if you think LeBron will still have it next year, like, I would be more bullish on their odds next year, but I just think that the defense and the constructed roster, like, there's not a ton of depth, no bench scoring. I guess something could happen in this last 13 minutes, but for now, I think these teams are ahead of them slightly. I mean, you could flop these or whatever, but I think these 5 teams are comfortably ahead of them, with the Lakers as the 6th favorite probably.
That's fair. What are our last 2 here?
Cavs with Hunter now too. What do you guys think about that? I feel like that's a pretty good trade for them.
I was talking about that in the breakdown of the Cavs. I think it gives them some good wing scoring, which they haven't really had. They've kind of been rotating dudes. Max Strus has been playing the 3. You've had Okoro. You've had Dean in there a little bit. Like it's kind of just a weird mix of dudes, and now you have a reliable guy that can guard and score from the wing, which is nice. So I think it's a big move. I don't think it really changes anything with. I think they're still 3rd. Like they were 3rd, and they're probably a closer 3rd now. But I think these teams are still probably ahead.
Yeah, I probably agree with you there.
We got Orlando. Wells, take it away.
Wells, where are we going?
Pretenders.
You guys hate your teams this year.
I think it's kind of, I would say it's been a productive season because you've seen a lot more of Jalen Suggs, which is good. And I mean, Paolo's going to figure it out. Like this bad spell here is not going to stay. And you've seen Franz take a leap during Paolo's absence. Like I think you're going to leave this year feeling more confident in the young guys that you built your team around, which is nice.
We have such a good young team. Our defense is ridiculous. It's just we need somebody who can really step up and score. And that's something
LaMelo.
Like if we got LaMelo, I'd lose my mind.
That would have been cool.
Unfortunately, I doubt it's happening. We'll see. I'm sure we'll find something in the offseason
or something to make some things happen. But I think this looks pretty good for now.
Like if I were to take the teams that people aren't expecting to get out the first round that have a chance, I think the Magic are a good team for that.
I also think Indiana's there as well.
Yeah. Realistically, I would throw Miami and the Warriors in, as I know that is not liked here, but I would throw both those teams in for that. I think T-Wolves would get hyped up to be a team that's that, and they're just not. Grizzlies, I think they could be this year's Pacers. So this is all Jay's concern.
I don't disagree. They're tough out, especially the pace they play at. Like playing a 7-game series against them is going to be a bit of a war. It's not an easy out by any means. I don't think teams are going to want to see the Grizzlies. I think the Pacers this year also have a series win in them, and in my eyes, they match up really well against the Cavs. So that could be a scary matchup in that second round versus a 1 versus a 5. I think
who's the worst matchup?
The pace the Pacers play at could be trouble for the Cavs. You obviously have Jared Allen and stuff. I think Jared Allen could be played off the floor in most of that series. The Pacers just rotate dudes in and out like crazy. I think that's a tough matchup if you're the Cavs. I think you hope the Bucks win that series probably.
Who's the worst first round matchup you think for the Thunder and Boston, respectively, to each?
Boston, probably Philly sneaks in as the 7 seed through the play-in or something like that. You probably just don't want to see Philly because their peak with top-end talent is still somewhat there. I think they handle that comfortably, but it's still just you'd rather not.
Well, you don't want to go against Embiid if you need to.
The Thunder,
I could see the Hawks get there too, but that's pretty easy out.
The Thunder, I'd say having to play the Mavs or something. The Mavs are the 8 right now, so that would be the matchup if things go according to plan in the play-in. I think you could see a situation where the Mavs start to figure things out and their record gets better. Clippers fall off a little bit during this Kawhi period, and you have the Clippers playing the Thunder in the first round, which maybe they wouldn't want to see.
I will say to your point, Wells, the Dubs versus Thunder in the first round could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just don't like betting against Jimmy Butler, man. I've just watched it too many times.
We also match up well against the Thunder. Even with the roster we've had this year, that's not a good team. We've beaten them twice. Should have beaten them a third time. We match up well, so we'll see.
And it's the year of Kendrick, man. You can't. Whenever a Kendrick album drops, you have to take the Warriors. It's just how it works.
That is true. Them's the rules.
This is true. I don't know. I also find Shea's MVP odds I don't agree with them, considering what Jokic is doing, just from a statistical perspective.
How big of a favorite is he?
Like a -800 favorite.
Yeah. Damn. I think there's just an element of voter fatigue where teams or people are done seeing Jokic be in that spot. And you have Shea leading a team to a 40-9 record without their second best player. He scored 53 times in his last 7 games.
Just
He would be
insanity.
the MVP for me. I think Jokic is a better player, but I understand the
The
voters
overall argument.
kind of getting a little tired of that and giving it to a young player who's averaging like 30 a game. So
Makes sense. All right. So,
Okay.
what team do we think gets caught out of these guys, though, in the first round?
I don't think
the
any.
Rockets could easily lose to the Lakers or someone in the first round.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the title favorites. Okay.
Just saying in general, like these top ones, like you're not like specifically contenders and up, like who could get caught. I think Knicks.
I mean, the Nuggets right
it's just
now are playing the Lakers in the first round, so one of them is going to go.
That's
a fun series. That's not a crazy series in the first round again.
I mean, the Mavs are out of here probably, with all due respect.
It depends who they play.
The West is just so much better.
I think if the Mavs find a way to get up into like the 6 or 7 seed, they could easily beat the Rockets or Grizzlies.
Oh my God, that would have been insane if Durant went to the Grizzlies. Apparently, he said no.
Oh, that was a thing? That would have been very cool.
Oh, why doesn't KD like? I guess he really likes it in Phoenix.
I think he just likes living in Phoenix. Yeah, I think the Mavs, if they can get to 6 or 7 and play the Grizzlies or the Rockets, they can easily get out of the first round. Nuggets Lakers would be cinema. That'd be fun. Knicks are playing the Heat right now. If things were to end right now, which I think is a series they probably win, but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Rockets is probably the best shout.
Yeah, they're probably just this year's Thunder. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for you guys this time. Chat a little bit through the NBA trade deadline here, some of how we're kind of projecting things to go. Invest in your favorite players accordingly. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about the Lakers. Not as enthusiastic about my own Magic. Grant's giving you realistic expectations about the Warriors, and then Jackson is just walking us through how we should actually be walking through these things.
He's just happy to be here.
Yeah.
His team's won 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a huge NBA fan right now. I'm just loving life.
With that said, subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, peace, y'all.
Peace.